Hey everybody, welcome back into the Live and Learn podcast. We're doing well on this Thursday, October the 23rd, 2025. Great to be back with all of you. Haven't been here since Sunday. Got a little bit busy, but we're live tonight. We'll be back Sunday following the NFL games per usual. Start of the show. If you like the program, if you like the content, please go on YouTube. Please go on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, leave us a rating, leave us a review. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear on the podcast. Helps me know what you want to hear, what you want discussed. Because tonight we have a bunch to get into. We're going to talk about NFL Week 8, which starts in just a few hours in Los Angeles, where the Minnesota Vikings are in town to play Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. We're going to get into some hockey storylines, including, a Maple Leafs team that doesn't look very good right now. But we got to start with the World Series, which starts tomorrow night in Toronto. The first time a World Series game will be played in Canada since 1993, when the Blue Jays won back-to-back championships. Since then, it's been a lot of, cool moments with, Jose Bautista, Josh Donaldson, but nothing like this year. Ultimately, losing the first two games. Some people panicking, not me, not even a Blue Jays fan. And I told you, they'll come back and win this series. And ultimately winning Game 6, Game 7, pulling out all the stops, using Bassett, Gosman in the bullpen. George Springer, the heart and soul, the leader of the team, hitting a 3-run bomb in the bottom of the 7th inning to blow the game open and ultimately win it for them. And it's a team from destiny type feel, an amazing moment for the city of Toronto, a city that, can be labeled as a city of losers, although they did get a champion in the National Basketball Association in 2019. The Argos win seemingly every other year. So I think that can be a little bit of a overblown narrative, a bit of a poor me narrative that just isn't all that true. But it was a game you'll never forget. It feels like being in Fredericton, it feels like the country has jumped onto this storyline and showing games outside on a big screen, getting people to come together. Instagram, Facebook, people are overjoyed about this team, about the journey to get to this place where they are right now. And it's cool. It's fun. And, they missed the playoffs last year. Disastrous season. Do they pay Vladdy? It felt more like Vladdy was this beacon that he has to stay, and who cares if the Blue Jays are successful when he stays, but you need somebody, you need a good player to stay in a market that, quite frankly, Toronto's not a small market in baseball. They have the 10th highest payroll. They spent $300 million to fix up the Sky Dome. They care about baseball. They spend money on baseball. Are they Toronto? No. Are they the Maple Leafs, pardon me? No, but nothing comes close to that in that city. But it's definitely not, Kansas City or even Milwaukee, who had a great season this year. It's a baseball town. It's a baseball city for sure. But last year was so bad, and George Springer looked like a shell of himself, and you're paying him money to provide nothing. And even early in the year, you go, woof, what's going to happen? But you find success, and they swept the Yankees in late June. And that was a real momentum builder for them. The Orioles stink. You're winning games. The Rays fall off after a good 3 months. You got the Red Sox who make the playoffs but don't go on a run. They're still a little too young, still trying to figure out what they are and who they are as an organization and as a team, as a whole. So all that transpires. And then you get to the Blue Jays. And I have kind of 5 items that I want to talk about when it comes to the Blue Jays and they're here, how they got here, and really I think can define their season. So bear with me. Number 1. Really, these are in no particular order, but I'll go 1 to 5. Number 1 for me is the Springer turnaround. He was a non-entity. He was a guy you have to pay to do nothing for your organization. And he's nominated for a Silver Slugger this year in his mid-30s. George Springer, a World Series champion, but for some, a World Series champion that's tainted because he won it in 2017 with the Houston Astros with the whole garbage can signal stealing scandal. And there's lots of scandals in sports, just ask Chauncey Billups. But to me, that's a World Series. I don't give a shit. Yankees fans can cry till the cows come home. I have no sorry case, but I don't care. But he won a World Series. But your career keeps going, and it's not really getting any better. You're not getting any younger. You're on a team that has expectations. They missed the playoffs. As I mentioned, you're spending money on players. You're trying to be relevant. You're trying to be a World Series contender, and you're not. But then this season, he was the heartbeat. He was the soul, the driving force for this team. If you look at the successes of the lessers, of the Ernie Clements, the Addison Bargers, the Andre Jimenez, a late addition, a Kiner Falefa, I credit a lot of that to George Springer because I think George Springer is a leader. He encourages his teammates. They clearly love him. He's a veteran. He's a champion. All of those superlatives he brings with him. He is quality. He does everything you want. And he gets the moment in the ALCS. He is batting leadoff. He's playing a game after he takes a 96-mile-an-hour fastball to his knee. No complaints. Find a way to play. And to me, looking ahead, if they win the season, defining it, all of it, George Springer comes to mind for me. Because without him, they're not here. They're not in the World Series. They're not in this position. Vladdy could have had an awesome season, and these things are going super well, and it's all positive, and it's great. But without Springer doing what he did in the regular season, without Springer doing what he did in the biggest moment, they are not advancing, period. And he deserves a ton of credit for that. A ton of credit. So, he's number 1 for me. His season and just his turnaround as a leader, as a player, his image in the city, his image around the league. Like I mentioned, nominated for a Silver Slugger, embraces being a DH, not playing a position every day. Just a great team guy that still provides. Number 2, This one might be a bit spicy, but I really don't think it is. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is now a Toronto icon, whether they win the World Series or they don't. And I believe that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is now the top dog in the city of Toronto. A couple different things. I think most people would say the top dog in Toronto, the most popular, would be Austin Matthews. I don't think that's the case anymore because Austin Matthews has never brought the Toronto Maple Leafs to where Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has brought the Toronto Blue Jays. Not close. He's came up big in the big moments. Austin never does that. And he's embracing everything. He's embracing the media. Austin never has. Embracing the moment. Showing personality. And I believe that Vladimir Guerrero is now the man, the most popular athlete in Toronto. I could be wrong. Is hockey still more popular than baseball? Sure. But I mean, they're moving games around so that people can watch the World Series. I believe that Vladdy is now number one. And I believe Vladdy is a Toronto sports icon, regardless if they win the World Series. If they win the World Series, he becomes an even bigger one. Doug Gilmour is a major, major Toronto sports icon, and he didn't win shit in Toronto. And that might sound harsh for Leaf fans, but it's the truth. Neither did Wendell Clark, neither did Matt Sundin, none of them. They didn't win, but they're icons. They're beloved. Everybody cares about them. They don't have to buy a beer. Well, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is 4 games away from winning a World Series. Doug Gilmour was never 4 games away from winning a Stanley Cup in Toronto. Never. Vladdy is a Toronto sports icon. His dad played for the Expos. Expos are gone, dead. They're in Washington. However, you see what Vladdy, he loves Canada. He loves Toronto. There's feel there. There's emotion wrapped up in all this. That's amazing to see. He's loving the moment. He's loving the feel. And to me, he's on that echelon now. Bautista is a Toronto sports icon. He never got to a World Series. But he had a moment. He had the bat flip. Imagine if you win the whole World Series. You bring a championship to Toronto. Like him or hate him, Kawhi Leonard may have taken money to plant fake trees or not plant trees at all from aspiration. If you don't know the story I'm talking about, look up Pablo Torre, pardon me. But he's an icon in the city of Toronto, and he's the greatest Raptor of all time, not Kyle Lowry. Because without Kawhi Leonard, the Raptors don't have a championship. Vince Carter, the original icon for the Toronto Raptors. Kawhi's bigger because Kawhi won. And Vince, like Wayne Gretzky in Los Angeles and California, Vince is so important to the success of the Raptors franchise, so important to just looking at Canada basketball and how good we are now compared to what we were. He typically didn't get the credit because people were upset that he left. Okay, he wanted to play in a bigger market. Good for him. I love Vince Carter. But Vladdy's an icon. Period. Going forward, he's put his name on that list. And if he wins the World Series, he's on the Mount Rushmore of Toronto sports players all time. Period. Number 3. Jeff Hoffman. Jeff Hoffman. A guy who was never supposed to be in Toronto. He had signed a contract with the Baltimore Orioles, if you don't remember. And he failed a physical, and they revoked his deal. And they said, no thanks, Jeff Hoffman, we don't want you. Then about a week later, the Jays signed Jeff Hoffman, and our, people with good thoughts and feelings. The Orioles didn't want him, and now we have him. Jordan Romano left, went to the Philadelphia Phillies. Didn't have a great year, got hurt. Jordan Romano, the new closer. Ups and downs. Absolutely. Rough moments. Pitching late August, early September. It got ugly. Home run after home run after home run. Get rid of him. I said that. But credit to John Schneider. Maybe I can go ahead, Jeff Hoffman / John Schneider. He never gave up on him. They didn't quit Jeff Hoffman. And in Game 6 and Game 7, he threw 3 shutout innings and helped the Blue Jays get to the World Series. It's tough. You could argue it's the toughest position when you're in a 9th inning and it's you against, you could say, the world. But it's you against another guy where nobody is coming out to help you. I don't think there's another feeling like that's why Mariano Rivera should have been, was the first player ever to go into the Hall of Fame on a unanimous ballot. Mariano Rivera, the best closer in the history of baseball. That position is so topsy-turvy. It's like a liberal politician. You never know what you're going to hear one day to the next. The spin you might get, pun intended. Jeff Hoffman battled, withstood criticism, justified criticism, and ultimately, in the biggest moments, had balls of steel and overcame doubts, trepidations, and was huge. He deserves credit. He deserves praise for what he accomplished. Period. Good on Jeff Hoffman, telling the Orioles to shove it, telling members of the Blue Jays media to shove it, telling me to shove it. And you ride with him until the end. Because he's your closer and he's gotten you this far. Number 4, Bo Bichette. 3 weeks ago, if I say the Blue Jays get to a World Series and Bo Bichette doesn't play a game, who's taking that bet? Not many. Hasn't played a game in the World Series, but he told Keegan Matheson after the game, I'm good to go. I'm back. This was Monday. John Schneider did not confirm or deny that he would be on the World Series roster. He did take ground balls at second base today. Makes it complicated because you have George Springer, who's kind of your everyday DH, banged up. You don't want him playing in the field. So it makes it complicated. And he basically needs to be an everyday player if he's going to be on the roster. Otherwise, why bother? I heard Buck Martinez say that on Blair and Barker, and I agree with him. Because if he's pinch hitting, it just makes no sense. Some say, why risk it? Barger and Wright works pretty good. Ernie Clement, Jimenez, their infield. Good infield. Sure, it's pretty good. But it means Bo Bichette. Regular season, he was their MVP. He led baseball in total hits, and he missed the last month of the season. He's improved his play at shortstop. In a month, he's going to be a free agent where he can sign anywhere. It likely won't be Toronto, based on the money they spent on Vladdy and the fact that they let it get this far. This next best of 7, the World Series could be his last go-around with Toronto. All that being said, hell of a season, best player, most consistent, batting over 300. Not many guys do that anymore. But what do you do with him? Do you rock the boat? If he's healthy, you have to play him. Because he's a bat you can't afford to lose. As much as you love a lineup and it's gotten us this far and it's been successful and yada, yada, yada. Sure. But you look and you see Clement and you see Kiner Falefa. Kiner Falefa can take a seat. And if you need Kiner Falefa to enter the game late and you have a lead for defensive responsibilities, you have that option. To me, even if he's 75, 80%, I'm putting him on the roster and I'm likely starting him tomorrow night at the Rogers Center. Because this is it. It's the World Series. You throw everything at the wall and you hope it sticks. Because I'll pivot into number 5. And this is a unique statistic. The last 4 times that a team that went 7 games in the CS and the other CS ended in a sweep, the team that went 7 games ultimately won the World Series. So recent history tells us that going 7 games is better than getting a sweep. Tomorrow night, the Dodgers will play their first game in a week. The Blue Jays have gotten 3 days off. The Blue Jays will be going with Trey Savage in Game 1. His 7th Major League Baseball start is Game 1 of the World Series. Kevin Gausman pitched an inning Monday night, so they're giving him some extra rest before he pitches in Game 2. Crazy for Savage and all he's accomplished so far. Credit to him. He hasn't shied away from it. He hasn't been afraid of the moments. He's been awesome for the Blue Jays in everything they've asked. But the Blue Jays are big underdogs, and everybody knows this. To me, if you disagree with this statement, as big a Blue Jays fan as you are, you need to wake up. Doesn't mean you're not going to win the series, but they're a massive, massive underdog. But that doesn't mean you're going to lose. That doesn't mean it's doomsday, that success can't be had. Looking at right now, the Blue Jays plus 190, Dodgers minus 230. I don't think it's a bad bet to put money on the Blue Jays. Like I said, it's a team of destiny. You're playing a team with Snell and Yamamoto and Glasnow and Ohtani. As good as Gausman, Savage, Bieber, Scherzer are, there's no comparison. Ohtani, Freeman, Mookie Betts, Tommy Edman, Max Muncy, playoff Kike Hernandez, Will Smith. Dodgers have a loaded roster. But the Blue Jays play good defense. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. And they get clutch hitting in big moments. Now, if they go down 0-2 like they did to Seattle, they're not winning the series. That can't happen. But you have success in Toronto. You had back to Chavez Ravine. You got a shot, absolutely. And then anything can happen. It's fascinating. I said Dodgers Blue Jays when the playoffs started. Correct. I did say I didn't think the Jays would win the World Series, and I'm going to stick with that prediction. I think the Dodgers will win back-to-back World Series because I think they're better. But I'm not as confident as I was in the beginning of the playoffs in that prediction. Vladdy is just that guy. Springer has heart. If Bichette can play, if Clement, Barger, these guys can continue to produce. I think one of the bigger reasons why the Toronto Blue Jays beat the Seattle Mariners was 7, 8, 9, and I talked about that. Seattle got nothing out of their 7, 8, 9 hitters. Nothing. They might as well have been throwaway at bats, a waste of an inning. You could have went and took a shit when they were batting because they weren't getting on base. But when you watch Toronto, you need to be prepared because it's Barger and Clement, Kiner Falefa, guys, Jimenez, guys who are really important. Jimenez had 2 home runs. In the CS, he barely had 2 home runs the goddamn whole season. But he showed up big when he had to. And he's always great defensively. Barger, home runs, key moments, big season. Kiner Falefa, one of the 3 guys to trot around the bases when Springer hit that home run. It's all important. Can those 3 guys outplay Kike Hernandez, Miguel Rojas, those guys in the bottom end of the Dodgers lineup? I think so. Can they hit more? Can the top end hit more home runs? Maybe. Maybe. Every series so far, the teams that hit the most home runs win the series. I think that'll likely happen again. 3 games we played in the stadium behind me, Chavez Ravine, in beautiful Los Angeles, but the first 2 were in Toronto. Trey Savage, Blake Snell tomorrow night. Blake Snell, a multiple-time Cy Young winner, one of the best pitchers in baseball. A really tough matchup, but Blake's get to him early, they may yank him. The Dodgers bullpen is the weakest part of their team. It can be had by anybody. Another thing, I think the Blue Jays, they do have a stronger Blue Jays bullpen isn't exactly killer, but I do think it's stronger than the Dodgers. Blue Jays aren't dead to rights. I picked the Dodgers before the playoffs started. I'm going to ride with that. I'm going to say Dodgers in 6 games. I think we get an entertaining World Series. Some awesome moments. City of Toronto, I looked at tickets. Crazy what they're going for. Congrats to people that are going, people that can afford that, because that's shit seats going for $5,000 a pop in the nosebleeds. But great for the city, great for the economy, great for people who do well in traffic. Yeah, I think we get a fun one, fun World Series, beginning tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Other news in the sport of baseball, the Los Angeles Angels have hired Kurt Suzuki, former Major League catcher, to be their manager. Sounded like they wanted to hire Albert Pujols. That ultimately did not work out. So they hired Kurt Suzuki, 16 years in the majors, spent 2 with the Angels, back end of his career, has been an advisor with the organization since 2023. The weird thing, it's a 1-year contract. The GM has 1 year on his deal left, so Kurt Suzuki gets 1 year as a manager on his contract. This is unheard of, and Suzuki's a first-time manager. You're taking over an Angels team that isn't very good. The remains of Mike Trout still remain there. You're still paying Anthony Rendon to not play baseball. They stink. The Angels, I'll say it right now, and the season starts in April. The Angels are missing the playoffs. Hot take. They'll largely be irrelevant like they always are. So this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't get it. But Suzuki clearly probably was not going to get a job anywhere else. So he takes a 1-year deal from the Angels. Good for Kurt Suzuki, but a 1-year deal, if you have a bad season, the GM leaves, the new GM's not going to keep the manager on staff. He's going to want to bring in his guy, I would think. It's always something with the Angels, with Artie Moreno as the owner. And it's never succinct. It never makes sense. And then it goes haywire. Woof. Also, the San Francisco Giants have hired Tony Vitello as their manager. Vitello is 47, was the head coach for the Tennessee Volunteers since 2018, has been an assistant in college since 2003, so he's been in the college game a long time. He is the first manager in Major League Baseball history to go from NCAA straight to the majors without any pro experience. Unique hire. It's not, a retread. Buster Posey is the president of baseball ops for San Francisco. Obviously a great San Francisco Giant, 3-time World Series champion as a catcher. He hired Bob Melvin. Bob Melvin was fired after 2 years. San Francisco you've seen some decline. The Dodgers get to back-to-back World Series. The Arizona Diamondbacks got to a World Series a few years ago. The Padres have been a perennial playoff team, not able to get over the hump, but a perennial playoff team. And San Francisco has regressed. They've missed the playoffs in 3 straight years. They're getting lapped by teams in their division. They're skewing older. They don't have a lot of great young talent in the pipeline that you're super stoked about. But yet I think they have high expectations. I think they expect to be in that conversation. Them and the Dodgers have one of the more underrated, better rivalries in sports. They hate one another. Early 2010s, it was all San Francisco. 2010, 2012, 2014, all World Series for San Francisco. Dodgers losing in 17, winning a Fugazi Fauci ring in the bubble. But since then, they win the World Series last year. They get back to the World Series this year. Betting favorite going in. So San Francisco's behind the 8 ball. They're taking a chance on a unproven entity, if you will, in Tony Vitello. Tennessee did win a national championship 2 years ago, so he's had success. The SEC, typically a great football conference, is also a great college baseball. Vanderbilt is an awesome baseball school. Tennessee, really solid. Alabama's getting better, so good competition. But an interesting hire. There's still 6 jobs that need to be filled in Major League Baseball when it comes to managerial hirings. But the first 2 are off the board. Kurt Suzuki going to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and Tony Vitello going to the Bay Area with the San Francisco Giants. But World Series begins tomorrow night. Let's pivot to football. NFL Week 8 kicks off tonight. I want to start off by acknowledging something I got wrong. Sunday night's podcast, I said, and I quote, Monday will be D-Day for the Miami Dolphins. They will be cleaning house. Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel have to go following a 31-6 embarrassing defeat to the Cleveland Browns. However, I was wrong. They remain employed, and who the hell knows how it's going in Miami. Tua's still doing press conferences where he sounds stupider by the day. He said he doesn't throw to Jalen Waddle because both of them are short and it's hard to see over the offensive lineman, which just not good. Don't say that. Don't have that be an answer to a question. Please. But week 8, only one Monday Night Football game. No game in London this week. Couple weeks off before we get a game in Madrid, where oddly enough the Dolphins will be playing in Madrid. So you have that in a couple weeks, and a game in Berlin as well to close out the international games this year. But a couple week break before we get back to that. Tonight, Minnesota and the Chargers. Minnesota losing to the Eagles on Sunday. The Chargers getting their ass kicked by my Indianapolis Colts. J.J. McCarthy remains injured for the Vikings, so Carson Wentz will make his 5th straight start. Joe Alt, the left tackle, will be available and will play for the Chargers. Aaron Jones Sr. will play for Minnesota, his first game since week 2. This is a tough game. Minnesota's got a solid defense with Brian Flores. Carson Wentz has turned the ball over, which has been a problem, but his offensive line's been banged up and he's been getting crushed himself. They need to run the football better, which they can do because the Chargers gave 140 rushing yards to the Colts. They gave up 150 rushing yards to the sad sack Dolphins the week before. So that can be had with Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones Sr. This is very much a home, you get 3 points. It's Los Angeles -3 tonight, courtesy of our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. They're clearly saying Charger at home. I think if the Vikings were at home, they'd be laying 3. I like the Chargers and the 3 points. Lay the points. I just think they make fewer mistakes than the Vikings do. And believe me, they make mistakes. The Chargers love to screw it up for themselves. But they really need this game. They're 4-3. They were 3-0 to start, and they're going down. I don't think they're a perfect team. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I said that from the beginning. But if they can possess the ball, Herbert, Quentin Johnson, his receivers are playing. Ladd McConkey is also. I think they'll be able to put up points against a Vikings team that is feisty, a solid group. But I like Chargers -3 to get in the win column, improve to 5-3. A tight game, a good game on a Thursday night. But I like Chargers -3. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Dolphins heading to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Dolphins 1-6, Atlanta 3-3. Atlanta coming off a very lackluster performance against the San Francisco 49ers. Michael Penix seems to play great at home, plays horrid on the road. Thankfully, the Falcons are at home, and the They're at home and they're playing the Dolphins. So that's a double. It's a double win for the Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson didn't get over 50 yards rushing against San Francisco. He had over 200 all-purpose yards against the Bills. So the Dolphins have the worst run defense in football. The Falcons can rush the passer. They have a solid defense. Tua has thrown 6 picks over his last 2 games. This one's easy. Atlanta, who I really don't trust at all, are 7.5-point favorites against the Dolphins. And yet I'm still confident in that 7.5. Because the Dolphins stink. Their season is done. They have incompetence at head coach, incompetence at quarterback. Darren Waller is now out with a torn pec. He's been one of their bright spots on offense. They'll run the football. Achane will probably have a good day like he always does, but they'll turn the ball over a few times. Tua will get sacked a number of times. Atlanta, Bijan Robinson has a huge day. Atlanta improves to 4-3. Easy. Buffalo heading to Carolina. No Bryce Young for the Carolina Panthers, who are quietly 4-3 on the season. I know. Bryce Young sprained ankle. So the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, will get the start for Carolina. Not the worst guy to have as a backup quarterback. He can keep it competitive, absolutely. Buffalo coming off a bye week, losing to Atlanta, losing 2 in a row, losing to the Patriots, then losing to the Falcons. Carolina does have a 2-headed monster at running back with Canadian Alberta native Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle, who's number 3 in rushing in the NFL this season, Rico Dowdle. Bills need a bounce back. And this feels like, even though they're on the road, it's a very good opportunity to get a bounce back game, to play well, to get some confidence. No Bryce Young. Their defense needs some work. The NFL trade deadline is on November 4th. I think the Bills have to be one of the most aggressive teams looking at players. Wide receiver, but also middle linebacker, to add guys to help stop the run, because they quite frankly can't. The Bills haven't looked great any game this year. They beat the Ravens. The Ravens are now 1-5, if we didn't forget that. They nearly lost to the Dolphins on a Thursday night. The Dolphins covered the spread. Even more embarrassing. They lose to the Patriots at home. They lose to the Falcons as a big favorite. Outright lose that game. They've beaten the Jets. Who doesn't beat the Jets? But the Bills, who I picked to win the Super Bowl, I still think have been very underwhelming. They're a 7.5-point favorite against Carolina. A lot of points. A lot of points. But coming off a bye week, a banged-up Carolina team, I'm going with the Bills, and I'm laying the 7.5 as a road favorite. I think Carolina will run the ball effectively. Carolina is a solid team. If Bryce Young was playing, I'd take the points with Carolina, but he's not. New quarterback coming in. This feels like a game that could get out of hand, even though on paper it should be closer. Give me the Bills in the 7.5, and if they don't cover this spread, they are becoming very close to being a cross-off team when it comes to betting for me. Because if you can't cover against Andy Dalton, the backup quarterback in Carolina, get out. Tennessee Titans heading to Indy. I knew this would be a big number. We talked about this on Sunday. It is a big number, bigger than I thought. Indy is favored by 14.5 at home. My Colts. 14.5 is just a lot of points. A lot of points. Colts 6-1, feeling very good about themselves. Tennessee, who just got destroyed by Mike Vrabel and the Patriots. Cam Ward, who looks lethargic, befuddled, to say the least, so far in his NFL career. Colts defense is kind of bend but don't break. They'll give up a lot of yards, but they'll come up with a huge sack, make a big play when they have to. DeForest Buckner kind of being the leader of that group. Tennessee, it's a division game. Second time they're meeting in the last 3 weeks. We'll see 2 of those type games this week. We'll talk about the next one here in a bit. My advice in this game is don't bet it, because the only reason I would bet this game is if I'm taking the Titans. And I'm not betting a 14.5 point favorite, because that's just boring. Unless you want to put Indy in a teaser, maybe a 7-point teaser, and you go Indy, Bills, we'll get to the Patriots. That could be a 7-point tease, 3-way. But betting Indy outright is a huge favorite. To me, I take Indy in a survivor pool if you're still alive, but I'm not taking Indy in the 14.5. And I don't feel comfortable betting the Titans either, because they suck. We'll talk about the other game that's just like this. Giants-Eagles. They met 2 weeks ago, just like Titans-Colts met 2 weeks ago. Giants upset the Eagles at home on a Thursday night. Huge win. Saw the Eagles come back. They beat the Vikings this past weekend. Jalen Hurts had the best game of his season, one of the best games of his career. A.J. Brown has not practiced this week at all. Sounds like he might not play this weekend, so it'll be a lot of Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert trying to get the run game going. The Giants are coming off that debacle of a loss to the Broncos in one of the craziest games in recent memory, but also one of the worst losses in NFL history. And that's not hyperbole. That's just fact. Blowing a 19-point fourth quarter lead. Second time meeting in 3 weeks. This time it's in Philadelphia. Philadelphia are Super Bowl contenders. The Giants are not. The Giants, I like Jackson Dart. I like Cam Scatterbo. So it's interesting. No A.J. Brown hurts, certainly. Brandon Graham is now back with the Eagles. Came out of retirement to rejoin the team. I like the Giants +7. Eagles are a far superior team, but it's a division game. Giants feel good. I think Jackson Dart's going to be fired up to play the Eagles again, try to beat them again for the second time in 3 weeks. Second time meeting a division opponent in the first 8 weeks. They won't play again until next year, which is crazy. Giants 2-5. One of those 2 wins coming against the Eagles. Tough place to play in Philly. But I like the Giants +7, that defensive front, a banged-up Eagles O-line. Give me the Giants. The New York Jets heading to Cincinnati to play Joe Flacco and the Bengals. We don't know who's going to... Tyrod Taylor replaced Justin Fields, who was benched. Then Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, came out this week and absolutely torched Justin Fields, saying, we might win a game if we had a quarterback who could throw the ball 10 yards. Woof. Probably shouldn't have said that as the owner, but he's the owner and he can say what he wants. Although the Jets have been a disaster franchise since my inception, and I've been, alive for 27 years. So there's that. Joe Flacco beat the Steelers last Thursday. Tyrod Taylor banged up, so it might be Justin Fields. Jets have not won a game yet. Heading to Cincinnati, who now all of a sudden find a way to win here. You're in the mix for the division. We'll talk the Steelers. They got a really tough game. Baltimore's in the dumps. Cleveland's been done. You never know. Keep the Bengals alive in time for Joe Burrow to return maybe in December. Bengals are favored by 4.5. Pardon me, it was 4.5. So now 6.5. You can't bet the Jets. Their offense is so anemic, regardless if it's Tyrod Taylor or if it's Justin Fields. Doesn't sound like Garrett Wilson will be in the lineup. Late the points, Bengals minus 6.5. Browns going to New England. I like the Patriots. I do. Mike Vrabel's a great coach. Why Tennessee ever fired him beats me. Drake May is already a stud quarterback. Their defense is getting better. Still has stuff to work on, but it's getting better. Drake May can throw the ball to Hunter Henry or Austin Hooper or Kayshon Boutte or Pop Douglas or Stephon Diggs. Throws the ball around, lots of different targets. The Browns stink. Their defense is pretty good, but I don't think Dylan Gabriel can score enough points. They put up 31, but against the Dolphins, whose defense is terrible. I like the Patriots minus 7. San Francisco heads to Houston. San Francisco winning on Sunday Night Football. Brock Purdy, limited participant in practice. Could play, but I got the way Adam Schefter was talking at NFL Live earlier. I was watching that before we started recording. Sounds like it's going to be Mac Jones again, which I think is fine because Mac Jones is as good or better than Brock Purdy. Christian McCaffrey's going to be there. George Kittle is back. So San Francisco getting some reinforcements back on the field to better prepare some good guys. Houston just played on Monday night. Were dreadful in that game against Seattle. C.J. Stroud is struggling. That offensive line is terrible. And he can't connect on passes downfield. He looks bad. The offense, it's all bad in Houston. And I don't get this. Houston is a 1.5-point favorite at home. I get it. They're the home team. But I don't think they should be. Because San Francisco's the better team. San Francisco's quarterback, whether it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones, they're playing better than C.J. Stroud right now. And I just look around and go, I don't think they can hang. I really don't. I don't think that they can. Both defenses are pretty. Not having Fred Warner hurts, absolutely. Houston's got a good defense that keeps them in games. But if you can get San Francisco and you're getting 1.5 against a Houston team that can't put up 20 points, San Francisco could score 20. The fact that they're a dog against Houston makes no sense to me. San Francisco plus 1.5. I have them winning the game outright. San Francisco's a good team. Better than I thought they'd be, even with all the injuries. But they're in a loaded NFC West where Seattle's 5-2, the Rams are 5-2, and San Francisco's 5-2. Arizona stinks. But those three teams all could be playoff teams. Very well could be. Let's see. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Tampa Bay coming off that loss Monday night. No Mike Evans, who's got a broken collarbone, out for most of the season, which just sucks because I love Mike Evans. And on Sunday night, that line was 6.5. It's now 4.5 after Monday night's loss. Tampa going on the road to play New Orleans, division game. New Orleans is better than people think. I've said that. I think Spencer Rattler's played pretty well this year at quarterback. They're just not a very talented team, but they give a great effort every week. In saying that, I think Baker bounces back. I like Tampa minus the 4.5 to improve to 6-2, continue their control over the NFC South. Yeah, I like Tampa minus 4.5 to get the victory and to cover the spread. Bears-Ravens. This is an interesting one. Bears-Ravens. Lamar Jackson has practiced a little bit this week, but no confirmation he's going to play yet. Adam Schefter said today that it very well could be another week before Lamar Jackson returns. It could be Cooper Rush again. So even with Lamar Jackson playing, the Ravens won one game with him at quarterback this year. They are 1-5 as a team. They are basically in desperation mode, and they almost have to win out in order to make the playoffs. So it's imperative that he plays. They have the Bears this week, who started out the season 0-2 but have won 4 in a row. It's been up and down from Caleb Williams in the passing game. But we've seen DeAndre Swift have a coming out party, the run game find itself. And that's been awesome to see. But the Bears have found a way. They edged out the Raiders. They've edged out New Orleans. They beat New Orleans last week for me. So they've won some games where you go, they beat Washington a couple weeks ago. Teams that are under 500, but they play who was on their schedule, and they've gotten the win. Baltimore does not have a winning record, so Baltimore would fit into that equation of teams that they've been beating routinely. And yet, despite the fact that the Bears are 4-2, Ravens are at home. So, okay, maybe the Ravens with Lamar, they're going to get some points. They're going to be a favorite. The Ravens still, on FanDuel Sportsbook, are favored by 6.5. 6.5 points. This line is crazy to me. If it's announced Sunday morning that Cooper Rush is playing, this book is going to feel like idiots, because there's no way that they're going to cover 6.5 with Cooper Rush at quarterback. Not to mention, Baltimore's defense has been worse than the Miami Dolphins so far this year, and it's awful. Giving up over 160 rushing yards per game so far this year, the Baltimore Ravens. And they play Miami next week. What a fun event that'll be. Thursday Night Football. Even if Lamar plays, I don't know if they win. Certainly, I don't think they win by a touchdown, which they have to do here based on the betting line. Bears are 4-2, a solid team. Are they perfect? Absolutely not. But they can compete with anybody. Caleb Williams is getting better. It's going to take time. If you're betting long-term, I like the Bears being a playoff team a hell of a lot more than I like, Baltimore making the playoffs this year. I like the Bears plus 6.5. Maybe they'll win the game if Lamar plays. I still think they can if Lamar plays. But being a 6.5-point underdog against the worst defense in the NFL and a quarterback who's banged up, who might not even play, is fucking crazy. Makes no sense to me. We shall see, but I like the Bears plus 6.5. Easy bet for me. 525 feature game. Dallas heads to Denver to play the Broncos. Dallas, who's been all over the place this year. Denver, who had that huge comeback against the Giants, but haven't exactly been great. But the Broncos are quietly 5-2. They find ways to win games. Denver's favored by 3.5. You have the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Surtain, likely going up against CeeDee Lamb. You have Riley Moss, who's had mixed results, going up against George Pickens, who's fourth in the NFL in receiving yards this year, having an awesome year. Javonte Williams, who's second in rushing yards. He's having the Dallas offense, with Dak playing the way he has been as good as you can possibly imagine it being. Now, you look and you see the play of the defense, and you go, you're the reason that we're not, first place in this division, when we're not looking great. But maybe it can improve. Maybe it can get better. We shall see. Denver at home, 3.5-point favorites. Denver's gotten out of some jams. Bo Nix had that awesome fourth quarter, but there's been games this year where he's looked absolutely terrible, like a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. I like Dallas plus the 3.5. I don't know if they win, but I think this can be a really fun game of the week. Dallas, before, they were boring. You put them on primetime, and that would annoy me. They're fun. Pickens, CD, Javonte Williams, Jake Ferguson. Players running all over that field, creating big plays. Dak Prescott playing the best football of his career. Cowboys plus 3.5. Wouldn't shock me if they win the game. I don't know if they will. I think they cover. I think it's a field goal game. It started out as 3 points, now 3 and a hook. Clearly some money coming in on Denver. Good. We're betting Dallas. Sunday night, Packers, Steelers. We'll talk about this game briefly Sunday night in our recap, but you got Aaron Rodgers playing the Packers for the first time since they traded him to the Jets. Multiple different stops for him since leaving, but first time playing Green Bay. Sunday Night Football. Talk all week, revenge game for Aaron. Jordan Love playing Aaron for the first time, obviously against each other. The protege for 3 years on the bench. Here's my thing. Aaron played great against the Bengals. Great. That Packers defense are maulers. Maulers. They had 8 sacks against Arizona. Micah Parsons had 3. He had 10 quarterback pressures in one game. Aaron Rodgers is 28th in the NFL when facing pressure this year. That's not good. The Steelers' offensive line isn't horrible, but it isn't awesome. And it can be had, certainly. And I look at it and I go, I don't know. This could be problematic. So, all that being said, I like Green Bay -3, a 3-point road favorite. Because I think they're going to get to Aaron. They're going to beat that offensive line more than the Steelers' defense will get to Green Bay. Jordan Love has a lot of different options. I think he could still play better football. There's times where I go, he should be better than he is. When you see Matthew Golden, Christian Watson will play the first game of this season, coming off an ACL injury last year. Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, Josh Jacobs. Fun game, great storyline, but I like the Packers to win Sunday night. But a fun NFL weekend. I think we'll get a good game tonight. College got some good games as well. Ole Miss at Oklahoma should be fun. Alabama at South Carolina. Missouri at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, one of the best stories in the country. Vanderbilt hosting College Game Day, a 2.5-point favorite. BYU at Iowa State, big game there. BYU still undefeated. Texas A&M, LSU. LSU a home dog in that game. LSU needs to win that game to keep their playoff hopes alive. Also might be key for Brian Kelly to keep his job. So fun stuff from around the football world this weekend. You also got the World Series Friday and Saturday night. And you got basketball started up on Tuesday. Some great games, including Houston and Oklahoma City that went to double overtime, which was a lot of fun. Victor Wembanyama, who dropped 40 and 15 last night. Cooper Flagg made his debut. The Raptors scored 138 points in a win. They play Milwaukee tomorrow. We'll talk more basketball as it goes on. I've watched quite a bit so far now. I'm enjoying it. Good to be back, basketball. The Knicks beat the Cavs. Big win for the Knicks. Let's talk some hockey. There's a team in Toronto, the Blue Jays, who everybody are excited about. There's another team in Toronto that nobody should be excited about, and that's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because through 7 games, and yeah, it's only 7 games, they have stunk it up. They were lucky to get a point against the Seattle Kraken Saturday night, and they got 0 points against the Devils, and they earned about -2. They were skated out the building. Jack Hughes ended up with a hat trick. He was phenomenal. You could argue the 2 best players on the ice were Luke and Jack. Austin Matthews might as well have been a pylon because I think he would have been more effective than what he did on the ice. But I think the biggest thing for the for the Toronto Maple Leafs this year is they have no chemistry. Their lineup changes every game because they can't find chemistry on lines. Part of that, I think it's Chief Craig Berube changing the lines too much and not allowing it to develop, nothing to kind of be cohesive and work. But after Tuesday night, and you had Saturday where you had the goalie, Stolarz, call out his team, and then he had to lie and say they played great on Tuesday where they were worse than they were on Saturday. More changes. Because Austin doesn't have Mitch this year. Mitch is not walking through that door, and as much as Leaf fans dislike Mitch, he's one of the best players in the league, and Austin has looked like a shell of himself without him so far. He can change that narrative long season, but I mean, that's an easy one to write through 7 games. So in practice today, likely to be the lineup tomorrow night when the Maple Leafs play the Buffalo Sabres, first game of a back-to-back. First line consists of Bobby McMahon getting an opportunity, Austin Matthews and William Nylander. Matthews and Nylander playing alongside one another. It rarely happens over the course of their careers, just short spurts, power play together, but not 5-on-5. But Craig Berube is kind of going to the panic meter. He said he's sick and tired of the first line not generating, being a one-and-done unit. So he's launching the torpedoes. He's putting these 2 players together. I don't think it's the best idea personally, but we'll see. Second line, Knives, Tavares, Matias Michelli. Knives, Matthews broken up, a physical force out there with Tavares. Give him the puck, bring some more creativity. The reason I don't love this with Nylander with Matthews is because I think Nylander is the most creative player on the team. Tavares is not a creative player. Knies is much more, puck to the net, physical, very meat and potatoes. And Tavares, invented meat and potatoes hockey. So you kind of worry about, just the boredom of it and does it effective. Michelli is more creative, but again, hasn't been proven to be a top 6 forward in the NHL to this point. He might be, but he hasn't been yet and never was in Utah. Third line, Joshua, Nick Waugh, and Easton Cowan. So Cowan draws back in after being a healthy scratch on Tuesday. Joshua, Waugh, both guys you'd love to see more from. You'd love to see them be more physical because they're tall, they're girt, all this different stuff. They're big, heavy, quote unquote, but they're not the way they play. We'll see. And then the fourth line of Steven Lorentz, Max Domi, back at center and on the fourth line, and Calle Jarnkrok. So my thought here is Nylander and Matthews together. It's not something you can use for the rest of the season. And if your response to that is no, why? Well, because the rest of the team is too thin. So doing it now, 7 games in a panic move, I just go, okay, maybe they have a good couple games, but where does that leave the rest of the team? Because I don't believe Nylander and Matthews will be on the same line the rest of the year. They can't be. I would rather play Matthews with Nyes and put somebody up on that wing and see if they can develop some chemistry. So I think this is a stupid panic move, quite frankly, by Craig Berube. Let Max Domi have a couple games on that top line, except now you put him at fourth line center. And I do think Max is a better center than he is a winger. I've said that before. I'm in the minority in that opinion. But I do. I like him more as a creative player. He's fast. He can move. He's a good skater, move around the ice. He can get lost in the wing. He's not good defensively, so I prefer him in that role. Maybe Bobby McMahon can be that guy, but if you're gonna do it, maybe go Bobby McMahon on his wrong side with Nyes and with Matthews. Matthews should be able to carry lines that aren't as good as him. Crosby played with Kunitz and Dupuis for half of his career. Kunitz is a fourth-line bum. Dupuis was an unknown. Leon Draisaitl played with players that aren't exactly elite guys last year. Trent Frederick. Guys that Janmark. He's playing with Matt Savoy now, who's, an AHL guy trying to make it. He didn't complain. He made them better. Connor Brown, you do it. Matthews should be able to carry the people on his line, and he hasn't. That's more of a concern, that you have to get Willie up there to create creativity. He's scoring goals this year, but when he's scoring goals, no goalie's in the net. I think this is stupid. Tanev got put on IR. He's going to miss some games. So New Brunswick's own Phil Myers is going to get an opportunity to play. So good for Phil. It's awesome for him. They're probably going to win and look good. They're playing Buffalo, okay? If you don't win and look good against Buffalo, get out. And I watch a ton of Sabres games because every year I pick a bad team and I watch them. Sabres big win last night against Detroit. Something Toronto couldn't do. Big dub, but you never know. But I mean, you should beat Buffalo, period. 14 straight years, no playoffs. Bad team. You're going to put William Nylander with Austin Matthews to play the fucking Sabres? Woof. Little Nicky Robertson, healthy scratch. Makes sense. He's done nothing in the first 7 games. So he's where he should be. Press box. New Jersey, great start to the season for them. Jack Hughes has looked great. They got another win last night. Markstrom's out. Jake Allen's been good. Jack Hughes, Quinn Hughes, Palat's in the lineup. They're somewhat healthy. And that's a huge thing. But they're a fast, fun team. 6-1 to start the season. But look, Brendan Dillon, goals in back-to-back games. Mercer had 2 points last night. Siegenthaler, Jesper Bratt, Paul Cotter. Nico Dawes, their third-string goalie, comes in, 30 saves. Also, shout out to Colton Ellis of Nova Scotia. 25, grinded, East Coast AHL. First career start with the Sabres last night. Gets his first W. Was the first star. Was originally drafted by St. Louis. Buffalo claimed him on waivers. Good for Colton. 29 to 31 saves, 203 goals against, .935 save percentage. He'll likely play a game against Toronto this weekend because it's a back-to-back. Awesome story there. Montreal, 6-2. We'll talk about Calgary more as we go on because Calgary lost the game last night and they are in a deep depression. They can't score. Dustin Wolf said today, I can't score goals. I can't help the team that way. Good on them. Should stay that because they've left them out to dry a number of times this year. Montreal is a fast, young, confident team. Demidov is starting to pop. He looks like a player. Dobson's fit in. Offensively, hasn't broke out yet, but he's playing really well in his own zone and making the correct read, and I love that from him. Montembeault, kind of a slow start. They're starting Dobis every game. He's been dynamite. Played Monday, W. Played last night, W. Whatever works if you're Montreal. Caulfield scoring goals. Demidov. Oliver Kapanen, young guy. What a start for him. Zachary Bolduc, 4 goals. Productivity, good in their own zone. They got Edmonton tonight. Fun game. Might watch some of that, just saying. So that's a fun story, and they're damn good. You look at just fast, good teams. New Jersey, Montreal, Vegas to start the year. Colorado and Carolina. Colorado 5-0-2, Carolina 5-1. 2 really good teams meet in Denver tonight. The Sunshine State in Colorado. Winnipeg Jets really good, and Kraken solid start as well. 3-2-2. Winnipeg 5-1. They look good. They look good, and they are good. And they'll be good most of the year, in my humble opinion. Another thing, Matthew Schaefer leads NHL defensemen in points. He's 18 years old. If there's any doubt he's staying with the Islanders the rest of the year because he's an NHL player. I don't think it's crazy to say he could make the Olympic team. Because if you have an Olympic team where you have Morgan Riley up for consideration, then fucking anybody should be up for consideration, including Matthew Schaefer, who's already better than him. But that kid's good. That kid can play. But yeah, Brady Martin got sent back to Sault Ste. Marie by Nashville, was the 5th overall pick. We'll see what happens in San Jose with Michael Misa, who is playing, who's got an assist tonight in the first goal. San Jose is still trying to win their first game of the year. They're in New York playing the Rangers, who have scored 1 goal on home ice in 4 games. Woof. So we'll see what happens there. But should be a fun hockey weekend. We'll recap it on Sunday as well, and as we head into next week. But this weekend, you got World Series, you got hockey, you got basketball back, you have UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi. So Sunday night, following the 5:30 NFL games, we'll be back. We'll chat about it all. Thanks for hanging out tonight, and appreciate the support as always. We'll talk to you on Sunday I'm your host, Noah Warren, and this is the Live and Learn podcast.